once you have that one guest superstar, everything else will follow through.
That was Suzanne Nguyen, and this is Podcast Ninja.
Podcast Ninja.
What's going on, ninjas? I'm your host, Anthony, and this is Podcast Ninja, a show that interviews the most successful podcasters in the game. My goal is simply to uncover the best podcasting strategies that you can apply to your show. In today's episode, we have Suzanne Nguyen. I'm trying to pronounce that the best I can, but she's also known as String Story. And she's an international correspondent for That Startup Show and the host of the String Report. And she's sort of curious geek who loves to explore tech, social, and innovation. Now, if you're looking to learn how to interview some big names in your space, or you want to improve some of your interview skills, then keep listening because I think this episode is going to give you a real solid framework around just that. Let's get into this show. Okay. Welcome to the show, String. How you doing?
Hey, Anthony. It's so awesome to talk to you and share my views about podcasts today.
Yeah, I'm excited and I'm super excited. Let's kick it off. Wait, why do I have to call you String? What's the story behind String? Because your name is not String, right? Not really.
Yeah. Well, people started to call me String. It's like my way of finding my community, and my tribe calls me String. But online, I'm String Story. I connect the people with technology, with, connecting the dots between tech, people, and place. Okay.
That's cool. And, so I guess you started in the, I don't want to say podcast space, interview hosting type space. When did you get into this kind of area?
Well, I'm starting to move into podcasts. So this is kind of timely, which is ironic. But if I have to I'm always been a very good communicator. I've always been super curious. And I find that if I want to learn something, I go to the smartest person, to the source. And I realize that a lot of people enjoy my conversations with other people because you get a super smart person, but the language is super either very geeky or academic. And I learn how to convert them. I learned how to geek translate some of the conversations and became a geek translator. So so I started hanging out in the tech space about a couple of years ago when I was in Sydney for a while. And then it just kind of evolved from there. And I realized that a lot of people are everyone's super interested in the startup world and technology these days.
And have you ever been on the radio or anything before?
No, but I noticed that ever since I moved to America, everyone's like, I love your accent.
They love it.
And they tease me when I say here. How do you say here?
Here?
Yeah, I say here. And everyone loves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York, so it's I think it's totally different, especially from the West Coast. But yeah, you could hear your accent. Your accent's cool. It's good. So, okay, so you got into the space, a few years ago, and so you started interviewing people, right? You kind of want to, find out some of their best practices and some of their ideas, things like that. And I guess, did that lead you into, being the international correspondent for the Startup Show? Is that kind of, your first appearance?
A lot of, what it is a lot of people don't know how to monetize content.
Okay.
And one of the common questions I get from other content makers is how do you do what you do? Which is travel, interview innovators and tech startups and founders, and organize fried chicken parties. And I'm serious. There's how do you do that? And what it is essentially, if I have to break it down, is that I've built such a great portfolio of interviewing people and just getting stuff done, especially with video interviews. It's I know how to create frequency and volume of content, especially with using Facebook Live, that whenever I go to different cities and conferences, I have my own partner list where it's hey, I'm here. Do you want me to cover it? Would you like to pay for it? And I usually say yes, or no, or yes. But I have a few of them lined up. So that's how became a traveling media journalist. And That Startup Show happens to be one of my clients.
That's cool. And then, so now you're interviewing some big names. We're going to talk about some of them in a second. But before, I want to kind of have you maybe touch up on the String Story. I've been seeing a little bit more coming up on that. Talk about what that is. Is it a secret group or something?
Oh no, it's just I think String Story is my brand, my personal brand. And that's what I mean, because a couple of years ago I was an artist on the streets and I was like Spider-Woman, and that's why like String, a lot of people started calling me String because it's super catchy. And now like I kind of introduce myself just to stand out because no one remembers Suzanne, but they remember String. So it's like, and like I said, it's just me connecting time, people, place, and technology together.
Okay. And did you already launch? Are you planning to launch another show through that brand?
Oh.
That's what I kind of want to lead into. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the String Report. Yeah.
String Report, yes.
Pretty much, yes. It's like a weekly video talking about the latest technologies, and like the last one I did was cannabis, and tonight I'm going to launch about community and technology and social media. Like you probably noticed a entourage of an explosion of Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm probably going to be talking about today. You have one yourself. What's the name of the podcast, a Facebook group?
Yeah, the Podcast Ninja Dojo. Yeah, I started that a couple months ago, and
it's super active. Like you're the one who, if I had to break it down, like you're the one who's leading it, and there are people who want to learn and support and become better podcasters.
That's true. Yeah. So let's talk about let's get back into some of the big tech names and the big names in the tech industry, the tech scene. Throw off some big names that you've interviewed over the past years or so.
Like I got invited to Dropbox and in both Sydney and in San Francisco, and like recently go to Gary Vee, and I talked to like, it just like happens to be in San Francisco. I'm almost like, it's mostly Jeremy Gardner in the blockchain space. So these like super geeky people in San Francisco, and I feel like only like you had to be in San Francisco to know those names, but pretty much like if I need to know about cybersecurity, I just could ask my network and they just introduce me to people. But I think the one that everyone kind of seems to know or like give me virtual high fives is Gary Vee when I was in Hong Kong.
Gary Vee. Oh, you were in Hong Kong. Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of close-ish by me. I think even on my radar, you kind of came up because, everyone checks out Gary Vaynerchuk, he's, we all see him. And when I saw the interview, I was like, oh, cool. Watched it. And then obviously I started asking questions about your microphone and stuff like that. Because
go ahead.
I was going to say, because that's like the space I'm in, but to interview Gary Vaynerchuk, okay, so I want to put that in perspective because even someone like me starting a podcast, I'm like, wow, he could relate to he could even be on this show maybe one day, and that'd be super cool. But you put a video out recently about like kind of how you interview influencers like Gary Vee, but I just want people to realize that it's not just Gary Vaynerchuk. You didn't just one day interview him and then all of a sudden now you're getting this quote unquote street cred, right? You've interviewed other people, like some of the founders, like I know was it Hugh Forrest from South by Southwest? You have some other guys that are big names, but I kind of want to break down that interview process, and I think that'll give people like an inside look to the hustle, I guess, behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So go ahead.
So all right.
Do you want to know how to?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's break it down. So like first, all right. So you're thinking you're going to these what are they? Yes, you go to conferences often, right? That's how you initially. Yes. Okay, so cool. So and you have an interview background. You've interviewed many people before. You knew he was going to be there, or you're like, all right, I want to interview Gary Vee. Let me try to find him and see him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, let's start from the beginning. So you're like, cool, I want him on the show. Now what?
Well, actually, I approached him with traditional methods, which I always like, emailed him and, try to connect with him, but he didn't respond. But who knows what will happen if you just send out a tweet video. Just to stand out, because I do feel like Gary Vee, specifically Gary Vee, has a very good facial recognition. And so I just sent him a video just as like, off chance that I would like, cross paths with him. And I literally did. I crossed paths with him and I was super ready with the questions that I wanted to ask him. And he recognized me straight away and then even got like, his like videographer to video record our conversation through my iPhone.
That's cool.
So the thing is like, that's like a literal hustle where like I waited for him to walk into the space. He was like, there were people asking for selfies, and because I know he'd value, I essentially was like ready to go and ask him questions, and he was ready to go and pump out answers. So within like 5 minutes of like just hanging out with him, I just asked him 2 questions and then like said, like, hey, I already got my questions. And he was ready to go through his like lecture and stuff like that, or his presentation. Mm-hmm. So I had to let him go. So I can't have a half an hour conversation.
Sure.
What I learned is like sometimes like with those people, some of them are willing to have conversations, and you just have to like make sure that you're in that space and you just swoop in. Like literally that's what happened with Gary Vee. But other people like Hugh Forrest, I had to get introduced by a contact Like warm contacts is always the best way to go for those type of people.
And
have to, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you're making it sound so like cool and casual, like, yeah, just drop them a DM and then, but like people listening are like, no, wait. String, you gotta back it up. What did you say to him when you dropped the DM? Like you were at the conference, right? And then you're like, yo, let me interview you?
Yeah, he's not even a DM. I just literally tweeted out to him. He literally reads all his social stuff. He doesn't even respond.
Yeah.
He reads it. He's one of those people who's like that. He reads all his social just so he's like social listening. Like I feel like I know his habits too well because like I've been following him religiously for a couple of years and I feel like I graduated. So he respects the hustle. He does, that. Like if you understand when you think about social media, you understand it's all psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally video message him just to stand out. Video message. And a lot of people don't usually use video. So if you just want to stand out, just like, hey, Gary V, I would love to like do a 5-minute conversation and geek out with you. Let me know if you're interested.
That's it.
That's it.
One message? Just not spamming or anything? That's it?
No, because like one video message is enough to have him say, hey, I'm making an effort to show my face. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Let's talk. And he did. He recognized my face.
And you had the questions prepared prior to the conference altogether.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you had more than, you said he was tight for time. So you just kind of asked him, like one-ish question, but you had other ones lined up, I guess. You were ready to go.
Pretty much all you need to do is that's what hustle is. Like whenever you're like in a tight spot, you just like, we should line up a meeting. Sometimes you just have to do things. What I find is I always have my mobile with me, a mini tripod, and a microphone on me. Mm. That's super lean, right? And a lot of people, because I have those tools on me, I'm able to interview experts in the space anytime, anywhere, as long as like strong internet. And then I'm sweet. If not, at least I could have a video and record it in one go.
That's cool. And you're always ready to go. Like, especially when you go to the conferences, you already have a couple questions, cause sometimes you do like short little like 5-minute, sort of interviews just to get like a quick slice of the pie. And then you have other interviews like with Hugh Forrest where, you had like a 30-minute, like semi-formal casual sit down, right?
But it was like he said something when I got, I had to wake up at 7:30 in the morning just to talk to him.
Wait, who's this?
Hugh Forrest.
Oh, wow. Oh yeah, you said it was early. Wow.
He was like, that's the only time in the night, that's the only space that we had before I flew out from Austin. But he happens to be there. And it was a great conversation because I knew that I could have a longish conversation with him. And why not? And, I was able to do that. And I literally made him dance too, which is hilarious. I made like this guy dance.
The dance.
And that's why I made everyone dance.
Well, you didn't make Gary V dance. I was disappointed.
No. I missed you because I didn't have that relationship with you in the first place.
Yeah, true.
Before I make everyone dance, I have to build up a strong rapport with them.
Sure.
So I do pre-interviews with them and then condense the conversation that I have pre-interview within like 3 to 5 minutes. But Gary B is like, nah, I just have to like swoop in and swoop out. Yeah.
But did you, cause it's important to kind of build that rapport in the beginning. You did that with Gary or it was more like, hey, how you doing? You remember me? Okay, can we do this?
Yes, literally like that.
Yeah.
Like, hey Gary V, like, can I interview you? Yes. And I was like, so I asked him like 2 questions about like traditional media, and I think he was shown on his like daily vlog as well. So I'm on his daily vlog, and then the second one is like about the ism one, which is like essentially what I wanted to ask in the first place.
Yeah.
And we'll just get the eyeballs. It's like up to like 13,000 views on Facebook right now.
Yeah. I mean, he never gets asked those type of it's anything that's semi-different from the typical question is always, that's cool. It's always good to kind of pull a question out that he's never answered before, I think, right? He's never really touched that topic really, right?
Yeah, I know, but like what's interesting is his body language is like, ooh. But the thing about Gary V is he's always willing to answer questions. Yeah. He always has an opinion about something.
Yeah. He's thrown off guard a little bit, I think, right? When you throw him that question.
Yeah, I was actually was like, I have like a really controversial question to ask you. And he was like totally ready for it. And he's like, yeah, go for it. So he pretty much gave me permission to ask him,
He loves it. He loves that. He loves being put in that position, of course. You know that.
I think so. Like, I think I gained a little bit of respect for him. And he's super nice. when you meet up with him, he's always giving attention to a lot of his fans.
Yeah. I think that's cool. And like, even for me reaching out to, other projects that I've worked on, I host like a little private show and this show. And sometimes some people are difficult to reach out to. And I understand like everyone's busy, but it's cool when that big guy gives you that little notch of time and doesn't make you feel as if like, like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that 10 seconds, or make you feel bad about, I don't know, I'm trying to, some people just don't have the time. You know what I mean? I'm trying to like find the words for it. Like, some people like, I'll interview you next year sometime. In 3 months, I'm free. Maybe. Yeah.
So the thing is like, it's a bit of like a numbers game. There'll be people who have the opportunity who wants PR, and there'll be people who are not interested in PR. And all you have to do is find those yeses in between those no's.
Yeah. And just
keep asking. Lot of people, like I get a lot of no's, but I move on and just keep on asking and asking and asking to the point where like I build a reputation up. Or the fastest way is that you build up such a network that you get referred to get interviewed by them.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to go past the gatekeepers as well.
Yeah. I like that.
And the fastest way to get yeses is to make it really convenient for them. So you shouldn't say 1 hour conversation. Just like, hey, I love to talk to you for half an hour to talk about X, their favorite topic. And if they respond, they respond. Yeah.
Set it up for them. Like, cause traditionally you set times, right? You're like, hey, is this cool for you? Does this work for you? Right? And that's via email usually. So, yeah. All right. So we kind of touched up. I want to know, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, the exact microphone and setup that you used to record, or you record most of your episodes that way. I use like a
Rode lav mic, and then also because it gives me a professional look, I use the Rode microphone reporter mic. But it hooks up to my iPhone as well, so you need like the IXLR to make sure that it suits the iPhone.
That's cool. I recently just bought the what I'm using right now is the SM58 because I think it handles really well. And it's a little more of a budget mic than what you have, but yours is perfect because like when you're dancing and stuff or like passing the mic back and forth, you don't hear like any handle. I know it sounds like something so simple that people don't think about, but in the podcast space, I think it comes up a lot when you hear like the handle on it. So that's why I was like, that's cool.
It's like, I think a lot of people don't realize like it doesn't pick up any sound. It's almost like it's geared to pick up voices of humans only, which is great.
Only. And you got like that cool little, wait, is it, you also have some sort of like advertisement thing on that? Or is that only for, that startup show, right?
Well, no, so you could buy those little like tubes online.
Okay.
I forgot what's the name of it, but there's on the road mic, you could put it onto your handle, or you could have one that like, it's like a flag that's on top of your mic as well. So that's like great advertising as well.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about the icebreaker process. I know you didn't get Gary Vee to dance, or he doesn't really need an icebreaker. He's always ready to go. But off camera, what do you kind of do to break that ice with people before you interview?
So when in conferences, I find that speakers and people who are used to press, they're willing to like be on the go. So you don't even need to have those icebreakers or the small talk. The best way to ask them questions is like, what is the key core message that you want to convey to everyone within that 5 minutes? So I reverse engineer it to make it seamless.
I see what you're saying.
But with people who are not very familiar with camera, sometimes you just have to like talk to them for like 20, 30 minutes. And like, it's almost like you pre-interview them beforehand and then condense that conversation in 5 minutes. But like, if I know they could dance, they will dance for me. Like 90% of the times they will dance for me. Just because but it works when like, I'm not a great dancer, so like when you see me dancing, I'm the most terrible dancer ever. If I was a, badass dancer, like the whole point is to make the interview look good and feel good.
Yeah.
So that means like I have to be a crap dancer for them to be like stand out more. But they will do it. They will do it just because it's fun and it's like a great icebreaker.
Yeah. Maybe you're secretly a good dancer, but you pretend to be bad just to make them feel better.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Like but the secret, how a lot of people say like, they're scared of being in front of the camera. If you could dance in the street, like by yourself without any music, you could survive in any situation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of people I know when I first got not even on camera, but just like interviewing people when I started, there's like that feeling in your chest. Do you ever get like kind of nervous, or at this point it's kind of like you're so used to it?
Well, it's just, the difference is like I'm just having a conversation with in front of the camera in front of them. So I have to make sure that they're talking to me, not talking to the camera.
Okay. That's a good point. I guess it sounds easy because you just have that personality. Maybe it's just DNA where you're just super comfortable. You have a good personality. You're just kind of born with like this like kind of style to make people feel comfortable.
Well, it's like, I have to say that if you're interviewing someone and you make it too awkward, that awkwardness resonates with them. So your role as an interviewer is to make that other person super comfortable, that they're willing to open up to you, unless you deliberately want them to be super uncomfortable. So your role is to make them like, hey man, we're just having a chat. And if you believe in that, so does the other person on the other side. Yeah,
that makes sense. I guess it's, and maybe it's just practice, right? I mean, how many people have you interviewed? You, like, what, 200 or something? I'm not like a data spreadsheet person, and I think I interviewed over like 200-ish people in the last 4 months. That's, oh my gosh, in 4-month period?
Yes.
Wow, #hustle. Wow. That's crazy.
Yes.
So I guess there you go. If you, there's a big tip. If you want to interview like straight, you gotta interview 200 people. And then just start.
But conferences help because like people are willing to have a conversation. It's just more, it's better to go to conferences sometime to create content because people are willing to talk.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's like a lot of like conventions or, like VidCon or, comic books meetups and stuff like that. I guess that's a good point. Huge point because people are ready to go, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're willing to talk. It's that space where people are willing to talk.
Okay. So I'm I want to kind of like wrap it up with maybe some advice for those trying to reach out to some high caliber people and they're striking out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm constantly trying to reach out to people. I can't get some good quality guests on my show. What advice would you give them?
Well, just 1, build up a portfolio. 2, you only need 1. Once you have that one guest superstar, everything else will follow through. But first you need to build up like a reputation or a portfolio where you have like great interviews. And if you need to, you just reach out. You'd be surprised how epic your network is. So I go onto my Facebook on a regular basis and I have specific needs and like, hey, I'm looking for someone in cybersecurity. I have like 100 people go up and say, hey, these are the people I recommend that you should check out. You'd be surprised. Yeah. And sometimes like once you build up a reputation, then people like will start recommending you. Like, I'll love you if you like start a conversation with this person or that person. Because I just want you to see, plus it helps that I like make people dads. People seem to enjoy that. Love it when
it's fun, right? Cause and that's like the big point of this too is like the tech industry, or even like if you go deep into the podcast industry, some of it's like, it's, I don't want to say boring to listen to, but I'm into podcasting. I like tech, but sometimes the way people speak is, I'm like, okay, that's a little too much for me. Maybe it's boring. Maybe it's too advanced. Maybe it's like, just can you simplify it for me? And if they can't simplify it in like one sentence, I'm like, I'm not interested. You know what I mean? So I think that's cool that you have like that kind of talent to simplify and make these topics more approachable.
Yeah. Well, I'm like the filter. So that when I listen to like really geeky technology, I can't help but if I want to like make it like, if I want to learn, I have to like simplify it. So it's like this. So I started like, repeating what they said in a very simpler term, and they either disagree or agree. And then there's like, oh, that's a really good point. And then it's also like for me, a way to engage with the conversation and say, hey, I'm really listening, but I'm trying to like also learn at the same time. So I'm going to like verbally translate what you said to me and paraphrase it in a different way.
It's, again, you make it sound simple, but like sometimes people are like, well, I have to, especially because you don't look like you read off of any papers or anything. So like you memorize your 20 questions or something like that. You know what I mean? You're trying to listen, ask follow-up questions, and then remember your next question. It could be a bit intimidating, you know what I mean? And to pull the best out of someone you're interviewing. So you make it sound so simple, but it's good. It's good though.
Oh, well, I guess like it does come with practice, and it's also my belief in that like, hey, like I feel like those kind of conversations where they get the standard question doesn't thrill them. So my role is to make it a memorable experience because I would love to follow up with them again. So it's also like a great way to network with them. If you impress them with your style, they will remember you next time and they're willing to have you a second or third conversation when you see them in the space again. Because I'm talking to practitioners, like people who are going to be in the long game for the next 5 years.
Sure.
And if I plan to be in the space for the next 5 years, I had to like at least show initiative is like, hey, I'm really good at what I'm doing and I respect what you do. And it kind of like that level of professionalism allows me to stand out.
And do you do research on the person you're going to interview? I'm sure you know a ton about them, right? I mean, it's a space you're passionate about, but
so, sometimes I don't. In conferences, I just like line things up and I just have conversations. Like I'd be super honest with them. Like, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but I'd love to know what you're doing. Cool. Tell me about it. So within 20, it just happens to be, I'm really good at like deconstructing conversations. That's or good. Finding what the core thing is. Or just ask them a basic question, like what is the key message that you want to convey to everyone? And then reverse engineer that.
Yeah. And then go off that. And then that's a good tip too. That's huge. Cause sometimes I know when I first started, I would try to like dig up the most stuff or like, oh, they haven't talked about that. Or I remember I watched, man, I can't remember his names. I can't remember his name. Something Lewis. Oh man, Lewis House. There you go. Yeah. He was talking about interviewing like Tony Robbins and, he was saying that he watched like every single Tony Robbins interview and tried to ask him a different question that was, I mean, of course, Tony Robbins has been interviewed a billion times, but he wanted to ask him a different question other than what has been asked in the past, but that's like, geez, that's so much research and takes so much time, right? It's like crazy.
Yeah. Well, like you could do that extreme, but the thing is like the fastest way that I literally learn and it's like, hey man, like I just want you to enjoy this conversation. And it's the trust factor as well that I want to do. Like, tell me what's the key message that you want to convey to everyone, whether it be your project or whether, like sometimes like knowing that they just want to focus or promote their project. So it's like you have to gear that towards that. So you build up a trust with them.
Do you have any other tips on interviewing anybody? Any other interview skill tips?
Treat them like people. They're like fantastic at what they're doing. But once you treat them like people, the conversation becomes about them that they're very excellent at. If you treat them on a different pedestal, then you have this like weird dynamic conversation with the hero. And like, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but other than like, if you just treat them like on a professional level that you're super curious and a very curious point of view, the conversation becomes a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
Treat them like people.
Cool.
Or treat them like your best friend is another good one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I think there's a lot to digest here, and I think that's a good setup. What else can we expect from String? What do you got coming out in the next few months or so? Anything cool coming out?
Oh, I will be back. I'll be traveling again.
Okay.
I'm going back to Australia. Have a feeling that I'll be popping around Asia. Then I'm going to be back in America. So in 2018, it's just me traveling around the world and covering conferences.
Sounds like the dream.
It is. And organizing fried chicken parties at each place as well. So I'm really excited, like, to test out all the fried chicken in the world.
So if someone wants to follow your fried chicken party, how can they reach out? Where can they find you?
I'm pretty prolific on Twitter, but if you follow me, I'm String Story everywhere. Like, piece of string and a story everywhere.
All right, String, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. We'll talk soon and catch up.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if anyone wants to learn about podcasts, I would super recommend that you join his like Facebook group. That's how I got this, podcast interview in the first place.
Yes.
So thank you, Anthony.
I hunted you down. I brought you in the group. And I was like, I know she could add value. I could tell. You could just see it. So that's cool.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thank you for listening to the 5th episode of Podcast Ninja. If you want to check out String's interviews, or you want to check out the Gary Vee interview, or you want to check out the actual tweet that she sent Gary, or you even want to look at some of her podcasting gear that she uses, go to podcastninja.net/5. And with that link, you can also talk to some of our podcasters or me directly. If you want to chat with me, just join that private podcast group called The Dojo, and I'll leave that link in there also. And thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Podcast Ninja.